He was responding to a rescue call. There was a police officer trapped in a vehicle, and they were transporting the equipment on the fire truck and had issues with the fire truck with the brakes and things. So they were then transferring the rescue equipment to another vehicle, and that's when my husband just went down and had a massive heart attack. And they tried to resuscitate him, and then the paramedics came and the ambulance and took him to the hospital, but it just was not fruitful. He had passed at the scene, and he had been a firefighter for 38 years, worked his way up the ranks to be fire chief in the department. It was a volunteer department in New Jersey, and he was chief for 13 years. Very instrumental with getting the youth program. He felt that if you could get a youth or the younger generation interested in the fire services in their early years, you could really have a much better chance of keeping him and being a volunteer and wanting to donate his time and give his all to the fire department. So he started the first junior program in our area, and which was soon taken over by quite a few of the other departments in the area. He also worked with our local county fire department and our local county officials, and was on the board of our local directors there in instituting new programs and working with the township and the county through different programs. By trade, since he was a volunteer firefighter, he was an auto parts salesperson for many years. Known by anybody in the township, and they all loved him. If our neighbors had a problem in the middle of the day, they didn't call 911, they called my husband. He would come home from work and help them. So it's just, and when he passed, the funeral services and things that we had for him were one of the largest things that our township and county had, and they were just amazed at the amount of people that were there. And there was, I guess, maybe 1,000 or more at the viewing, and 500 and more at the funeral that day. And he loved working with the younger group and got them involved. Our two boys were also firefighters. The younger son, Scott, was fire chief when his father died, and my older son, Charles, he was working at the fire academy that night as an instructor. And they've both been involved in the fire service for many years, right along with their dad in that junior program. And I actually think that that had a big bearing on where the junior program came from. And he instituted many younger children thereafter. When he retired, his junior members were just devastated that they were losing their chief that had taught them what they knew. So it was kind of a special blessing to him when his junior members came up that day, and they all had something special to say about him and how they felt about him and what they had taught and what he had taught them. Well, the very first year at a memorial services at our local county levels, they had asked me if I would speak for a few minutes, and I did, not very long, but just for a few minutes. One of the questions they asked me was one of my greatest fears. And my answer to them was that one of my boys wouldn't come back. And after losing my husband, it's very rewarding in what he did. And I know the boys felt the same way. And I knew that they would never ever give up this fire services, knowing the impact that their father had with other people. I now have, my older son's a volunteer still. My younger son is a paid firefighter to this day, getting ready to retire in a few years. And as I said, my older son still volunteers on a basis with our local fire departments. And I was always very glad that he could do what he did. It took a special type of a person to be able to do a fire or a rescue if it was a bad accident or something like that. I would always and forever hold a dinner or things like that, because it never mattered. What he was doing was far more important to our community and to just the general public. And to me, that was one of the most important things to him and us as a family. It became kind of ironic though when the boys started to run, because we lived in a double-story house, and three sets of feet going down the stairs in one night is rather frightening, rather loud.
In your life?
Oh, there's many times we were out shopping and we'd be somewhere and there'd be a rescue call, and I would be at the rescue or the fire, and I'd be there till I got a ride home or somebody would come and get me, you know. And if there was a fire in the middle of the night and they needed coffee, the firemen needed coffee, or if it was, we live in a rural area, so it was a barn fire or something of that nature, would be one of my jobs to get some of the ladies together in the neighborhood, and we would make coffee, we would make sandwiches, we would do what we had to do to keep those firemen warm and protected, or however, whatever we could do for them that would keep us. And we bonded, the whole neighborhood and all the families bonded in that respect, and really learned to be a part of each other's lives. Even though those other wives that I called might not have been firemen's wives, they could have been neighborhood women that were more than willing to come down and help. It's very rewarding when you can, and you can see somebody want to pitch in and help like that. It's just very rewarding to the family and the firefighter to know that everybody around him is willing to pitch in and help. Being in a rural area, your response time from your departments is so much more than it is if you're in a local town where you have 2 and 3 departments in a town. In a rural area, you might have 15-20 miles between your departments and more in a lot of rural towns, and it takes the response time a lot more. And so you know that everybody's working together. All the departments and local towns are working together to ensure the safety of the people in our neighborhood, in all the local neighborhoods like that. Also, he had a big part in that with making sure that I guess they call them grids, is how they call them, the grid lines, that, you know, one person would automatically be called in if there was somebody else, you know, if the fire got worse, there was another station called in for thereafter. And he was very instrumental in putting some of those things together for our fire districts also, and working on committees for that to institute a lot of those things. He was a lot of fun. No matter where you went with him, what you did, he was serious business when it came to his fire company. But when you went anywhere else with him, he loved to dance. He was the first one on the dance floor and the last one off. And I loved every minute of it. And when it came to the chicken dance, my boys will laugh to this day at his father. We had one dinner that we bought, and our escorts were there for this dinner, all right? It was after their father passed. We got chicken mask, with feathers and the whole works. And we have all of us out there doing the chicken dance and our escorts. So that was a picture to remember. Always liked to party, always liked to see somebody smile. And actually, that's one thing that when he passed and the night of his viewing, I don't know how many people told me that worked with him that they missed his smile in the morning. Because he was a security guard, and actually he ended up being a security guard for our county building, was what he did, our local county building. And he would see everybody in the morning, and they said the thing they missed most was his great smile.